You are listening to The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards.
BSI Reports and Whitepapers provide expert insights, guidance and analysis on various topics related to standards, compliance and best practices. They are designed to inform and educate organisations, industries and policymakers about emerging trends, challenges and opportunities in areas where standards play a critical role. Hello, this is Matthew Childs and welcome to The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards. And this episode of The Standard Show is an abridged audio version of one of those reports. The value of creating a culture of trust, exploring the impact of workplace health and wellbeing support on productivity. Across many advanced economies, productivity has stagnated, while economic inactivity and workplace absence linked to ill health have increased. As employers navigate demographic change, evolving ways of working and growing wellbeing challenges, understanding how workplace culture influences productivity has become an increasingly important priority for organisations and policymakers alike. The Creating a Culture of Trust report examines how employee confidence in raising health and wellbeing challenges affects productivity across the UK, US and Germany. Drawing on new research, it introduces the concept of the confidence productivity premium and shows how supportive workplace cultures and standards-based approaches can reduce absenteeism, improve retention and unlock measurable economic value for employers and the wider economy. Before we dive in, here's Cindy Parakill with a quick reminder.
Hey, just a quick reminder to follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever you listen. Want to get in touch or find us on socials? All the links you need are in the show notes. Report: the value of creating a culture of trust, exploring the impact of workplace health and wellbeing support on productivity. Executive summary. Across the UK, US and Germany, labour market pressures are continuing to affect economic performance. In the UK, more than 1 in 5 working-age adults are economically inactive, and over half of workplace absence is linked to mental ill health. In the US, productivity remains relatively high, but around 105 million adults are outside the labour force. Germany, meanwhile, is facing the combined challenge of an ageing population and a changing labour market, despite rising participation rates. Health and wellbeing challenges are a significant contributor to workplace absence and reduced productivity across all 3 countries. While support for physical health is more commonly available, gaps remain, with 1 in 4 employees reporting no access to relevant support services. For psychological health and wellbeing, these gaps are more pronounced, with more than 1 in 3 employees reporting no available support. These challenges translate into productivity impacts through increased absenteeism, reduced performance while at work, and a greater likelihood of employees leaving employment. Against this backdrop, this study finds that employee confidence in raising health and wellbeing concerns with employers has a measurable impact on productivity. Across the UK, US and Germany, employees who feel confident approaching their employer experience lower productivity losses, creating a confidence productivity premium for employers and the wider economy. Importantly, the scale of these productivity losses depends not only on the presence of health and wellbeing challenges, but also on how organisations respond. Employees who feel confident raising concerns and accessing support experience lower productivity losses than those who lack confidence. The findings demonstrate that employers that build trust, provide appropriate support and create environments where employees feel able to speak openly can reduce productivity losses and improve workforce well-being. Workplace standards, including ISO 45001 and ISO 45003, offer practical framework to support more structured approaches to health and well-being. Although awareness of these standards remains limited, employees tend to recognise their value once they are implemented. Overall, strengthening employee confidence through structured support and early intervention represents a significant opportunity to improve well-being, reduce productivity losses, and deliver long-term economic benefits. Introduction. This study examines the relationship between workplace well-being, employee confidence, and productivity at a time when many economies face persistent productivity challenges, high levels of workplace absence, and significant democratic change. While a culture of trust is increasingly recognised as a driver of an engaged and resilient workforce, it also has measurable business value, influencing absenteeism, presenteeism, retention, and overall performance. As labour markets continue to evolve, understanding the factors that support employee health and well-being should be a strategic priority for employers. Drawing on primary research across the UK, the US, and Germany, the study explores how employee confidence in raising health and well-being issues with employers influences productivity outcomes. Specifically, it examines whether confidence helps mitigate productivity losses associated with health and well-being challenges, whether this creates a measurable productivity premium for businesses, and what the economic value of that premium could be. The following sections examine the scale of the productivity challenge, the role workplace support plays in addressing it, and how employee confidence can unlock measurable productivity gains. The analysis is complemented by an assessment of employers' readiness to provide support and the role workplace standards play in creating confidence when health and well-being issues arise. The research is based on a bespoke survey of employees across 4 sectors who had experienced specific health and well-being challenges within the previous 5 years. It examines workplace readiness, the relationship between employee confidence and productivity, and the contribution that standards-based workplace provisions can make to improving employee well-being and organisational performance. Section 1. Economic inactivity, ill health, and the productivity puzzle. Many advanced economies face a common challenge: weak productivity, rising economic inactivity, and growing pressure on labour markets. In the UK, Sir Charlie Mayfield's Keep Britain Working review described the situation as a quiet but urgent crisis. While unemployment remains relatively low, productivity has yet to recover from the global financial crisis, and more than 1 in 5 working-age adults are now economically inactive. Since 2019, the number of people out of work because of health issues has risen by around 800,000, with more than half of workplace absence linked to mental ill health. The challenge is particularly acute among younger people, with growing numbers of 16 to 34-year-olds economically inactive due to long-term mental health conditions. Although the UK presents the most significant combination of low productivity and high inactivity among the countries examined, similar pressures exist elsewhere. In the United States, productivity is considerably higher, yet nearly 105 million adults are outside the labour force, while labour force growth is slowing because of weaker population growth and declining participation. Germany has one of Europe's highest employment rates, and labour market participation continues to grow, but it faces a rapidly ageing workforce. At the same time, sickness absence remains comparatively high, prompting policymakers to explore more flexible approaches to managing sick leave. Despite these different national contexts, the underlying challenge is shared: supporting the health and well-being of people already in work while enabling those outside the labour market to return is both an economic and social priority. Employment provides income, purpose, and social connection, while high levels of economic inactivity reduce the available workforce, constrain tax revenues, and increase pressure on public services, particularly in ageing societies. These challenges are unfolding alongside wider structural changes in the labour market. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the adoption of hybrid and remote working, fundamentally changing employee expectations. At the same time, advances in AI are reshaping workforce planning. BSI research found that many business leaders already report AI reducing headcount requirements, with almost 1/3 saying their organisations now consider AI solutions before recruiting additional staff. Health and wellbeing challenges are an important part of this productivity picture. Previous BSI research has shown that health-related issues can influence workforce participation across different stages of working life. The Lifting the Second Glass Ceiling study found that 1 in 5 women globally expected to leave work earlier than planned, with physical health and menopause among the key factors influencing those decisions. Yet many employees reported that these issues were rarely discussed in the workplace, and relatively few felt comfortable raising menopause with their managers. Similarly, BSI's Global Workforce Entrance Study found that mental well-being increasingly shapes employment choices among young people entering the workforce. More than 1 in 5 respondents said social anxiety would influence their willingness to take on a fully office-based role, rising further among those already working remotely. Taken together, these findings demonstrate that health and well-being are not peripheral workplace issues, but central drivers of labour market participation and productivity. As demographic change, evolving working patterns and technological transformation reshape economies, organisations that invest in employee well-being and create supportive workplace cultures will be better placed to retain talent, sustain productivity, and build a more resilient workforce. Understanding the scale of this challenge is only part of the picture. The next question is whether organisations are equipped to support employees when health challenges arise. Section 2. Workplace Support. BSI's Lifting the Second Glass Ceiling report examined employer awareness of and support for issues such as menstruation, miscarriage, and fertility. This study broadens that focus to assess how well organisations support employees experiencing a wider range of physical and psychological health and well-being challenges. Across all 3 markets, support was most commonly available for physical health challenges, suggesting organisations are generally more familiar with accommodating physical conditions. However, provision remains inconsistent. On average, 1 in 4 employees experiencing physical health challenges reported that no support services were available. For psychological health and well-being challenges, the picture was less positive. More than 1 in 3 respondents reported receiving no support. In the UK, the greatest gap was for menstruation and menopause. Almost half of affected respondents reported no workplace support, while fewer than 1/4 received managerial support and fewer than 4 in 10 reported workplace adjustments. Among employees experiencing neurodiversity-related challenges, workplace adjustments were more common, although 1 in 4 still reported receiving no support. The findings suggest even greater challenges in the US and Germany, where an average of almost 4 in 10 respondents experiencing psychological health challenges reported that no support services were available. This highlights a significant gap between the prevalence of psychological health issues and the availability of formal workplace support. Support also varied by sector. Healthcare and the built environment demonstrated more established workplace support, while employees in retail and food and drink were less likely to report access to formal health and well-being provisions. A similar pattern was evident for psychological health challenges, indicating opportunities to strengthen organisational readiness across industries. Availability of support, however, is only one part of the equation. Employees also need to feel confident using that support, a factor that emerges as a critical driver of productivity.
Standards affect all of us, every day, everywhere. By defining good practice, they help people and organizations do things better. Each year, standards bodies publish thousands of standards, and we're always looking for more people like you to join our growing community of standards makers. We welcome applicants from all backgrounds, areas of expertise, and career stages. Our goal is simple: to bring a balance of perspectives to the table. As a standards maker, you can help improve how things are made and done, whether it's building more inclusive workplaces, improving healthcare, advancing AI governance, accelerating climate action, and much more. If you want to make a difference and help shape the world through standards, start your standards making journey today. Details on how to get involved are in the show notes.
Section 3. Stigma and Disclosure. A substantial body of research shows that employees' confidence in raising health and well-being issues with their employer is a key determinant of whether they seek support and ultimately how those challenges affect productivity. Previous studies have found that concerns about stigma, particularly around invisible or psychological health conditions, can discourage employees from disclosing their needs. Without disclosure, employees are less likely to receive workplace support, increasing the likelihood that health challenges negatively affect both individual well-being and organisational performance. Confidence is influenced by both individual and organisational factors. Personal experiences, beliefs, and coping mechanisms all play a role, but workplace culture is equally important. Organisations that foster psychological safety, provide clear policies, train managers, and establish accessible support systems create environments where employees feel more able to raise concerns. Conversely, where stigma persists or support pathways are unclear, confidence is reduced. In this sense, confidence reflects the extent to which organisations have created a culture of trust. Against this backdrop, the study examined how employee confidence relates to productivity outcomes. 2 dimensions of confidence were explored: confidence to approach an employer when faced with a health and well-being challenge, and confidence that an appropriate solution can be found. Across all 3 countries, these measures were strongly correlated. Employees who felt comfortable raising concerns were also much more likely to believe their employer would respond effectively. Because confidence to approach an employer is more directly influenced by workplace culture and employee behaviour, it formed the primary measure used throughout the analysis. Levels of confidence varied according to the type of health challenge experienced. Across the UK, US and Germany, employees experiencing physical health conditions consistently reported higher confidence than those experiencing psychological conditions. On average, around 3/4 of respondents with physical health challenges reported being confident approaching their employer, compared with just over a half of those experiencing psychological challenges. The UK data also highlighted lower confidence among employees experiencing menstruation and menopause-related issues, as well as neurodiversity-related challenges. Only around a half of respondents in these groups felt confident approaching their employer. These findings may reflect continuing stigma, limited organisational awareness, and a lack of well-established workplace processes for discussing these issues. Confidence also differed by sector. Employees in the built environment reported the highest confidence levels across all categories of health challenge, closely followed by healthcare. These sectors typically operate within stronger health and safety frameworks with formal reporting procedures and clear organisational responsibilities that make raising concerns more routine. By contrast, employees in retail and food and drink were consistently less confident. These sectors often have less formal management structures, higher workforce turnover, and greater operational pressures, making it harder for employees to raise health and well-being concerns. The central research question was how confidence influences productivity. 3 dimensions were examined: absenteeism, presenteeism and job separation, or extending leave resulting from health and well-being challenges. The findings show that health and well-being challenges reduce productivity in multiple ways. Employees may take time away from work, experience lower productivity while working, or ultimately leave employment altogether. Across each of these channels, confidence played an important role in shaping outcomes. While all employees experience some productivity loss when facing health challenges, those reporting lower confidence consistently experience greater losses. This finding points to what the study describes as a confidence productivity premium, the measurable productivity gains available when employees feel able to raise health and well-being concerns and access support. The premium was estimated by combining three sources of productivity loss: days lost through absenteeism, reduced output while working with a health challenge, and the cost associated with extended leave or job separation. Patterns of absenteeism illustrate the importance of confidence. Interestingly, confident employees were sometimes more likely to take at least some time away from work when experiencing a health challenge. However, employees with lower confidence accumulated substantially more absence days over the course of a year. In other words, they were less likely to take shorter, earlier periods of leave, but when absences did occur, they tended to be longer and more disruptive. From an organisational perspective, this distinction is significant. Longer absences are more difficult to manage than shorter, planned periods away from work. They create greater disruption to teams, require more extensive cover arrangements, and often signal that underlying issues have not been addressed early enough. Presenteeism presents an equally important but often less visible source of productivity loss. Employees who continue working while unwell may remain present but perform below their normal capacity, affecting their own output as well as colleagues, team performance and morale. Across all three countries, employees reporting lower confidence were consistently more likely to experience presenteeism than those who felt confident approaching their employer. The findings suggest that confidence primarily affects whether employees seek support or adjustments before continuing to work, rather than the severity of the underlying health condition itself. Once employees were working while unwell, the extent of productivity reduction was broadly similar regardless of confidence. The difference lay in how often presenteeism occurred. Employees with lower confidence were more likely to continue working despite unresolved health challenges, increasing the overall incidence of reduced productivity. This distinction has important implications for employers. It suggests that interventions designed to improve confidence, such as clearer reporting routes, supportive management practices, and accessible workplace adjustments, may reduce productivity losses even where underlying health conditions remain unchanged. By encouraging employees to seek support earlier, organisations can reduce the number of people working while unwell and improve productivity across the workforce. The study also found that presenteeism was widespread across all respondent groups, with rates typically exceeding 60%. This highlights that much of the productivity impact associated with health and well-being challenges occurs while employees remain at work rather than through absence alone. Focusing solely on absenteeism is therefore likely to underestimate both the economic cost and the wider impact on employee well-being. Finally, the research examined whether health and well-being challenges resulted in employees taking extended periods of leave or leaving employment altogether. Again, lower confidence was associated with poorer outcomes. Across the market studied, employees with lower confidence were significantly more likely to report taking extended leave or leaving a job because of a health challenge. The differences were particularly marked among employees experiencing neurodiversity-related challenges. These findings suggest that unresolved workplace issues can ultimately contribute to disengagement and workforce exit. Where employees do not feel confident seeking support, challenges are more likely to escalate rather than being addressed through timely intervention or reasonable adjustments. For employers, the consequences extend beyond immediate productivity losses to include recruitment costs, loss of organisational knowledge, and reduced team stability. Taken together, the findings demonstrate that confidence is more than an individual characteristic. It is a measurable organisational capability shaped by workplace culture, management behaviour, and support systems. Organisations that build trust and create environments where employees feel confident discussing health and well-being challenges are better placed to reduce absenteeism and presenteeism, retain skilled employees, and unlock a meaningful productivity premium for both their business and the wider economy. The next section estimates the economic value of this relationship by quantifying the confidence productivity premium. Section 4. Unlocking the confidence productivity premium. To estimate the economic value of employee confidence, the study calculated the confidence productivity premium. the difference in employer costs between employees with higher and lower confidence in raising health and well-being issues. The analysis combines three sources of productivity loss: absenteeism, presenteeism, and the costs associated with extended leave or job separation. Absenteeism estimates were based on self-reported survey data, while presenteeism was modelled using established research methods and adjusted for its intensity. Survey responses indicated that employees working while affected by a health challenge experienced an average productivity loss equivalent to around 23% of the working day. The analysis also incorporated the longer-term costs of employees leaving work or taking extended leave because of a health challenge, including conservative estimates of recruitment, onboarding, and replacement costs. These individual impacts were then scaled using employment and prevalence data to estimate the wider economic value of improving employee confidence. The findings show that unlocking the confidence productivity premium represents a significant opportunity for employers across all three markets. In the UK, the largest annual productivity gains per employee were associated with physical health challenges, around £1,600, and neurodiversity-related challenges, around £1,200, largely reflecting lower levels of absenteeism among employees who felt confident raising concerns. Although the estimated premium was smaller for psychological health challenges, around £400, and menstruation or menopause-related challenges, around £200, these still represent meaningful gains alongside the wider wellbeing benefits of better workplace support. At a national level, the confidence productivity premium is estimated to be worth £5.5 billion for physical health challenges, £2.8 billion for neurodiversity-related challenges, £1.3 billion for psychological challenges, and £271 million for menstruation and menopause-related challenges. In the United States, the pattern differs. The productivity premium is larger for psychological health challenges than for physical conditions, driven primarily by reductions in absenteeism rather than presenteeism. Economy-wide, the premium is estimated at £16.7 billion for psychological challenges and £11.1 billion for physical challenges, suggesting that confidence plays an especially important role in helping employees manage mental health challenges while remaining in work. Germany recorded the largest productivity premium overall. Employees with psychological health challenges who felt confident approaching their employer experienced substantially fewer absence days than those with lower confidence, resulting in an estimated annual premium of around £3,640 per employee, compared with £1,720 for physical health challenges. Higher overall sickness absence in Germany amplifies these differences, producing economy-wide productivity gains of approximately £19.1 billion for psychological challenges and £7.3 billion for physical health challenges. Together, these findings demonstrate that building employee confidence offers a substantial opportunity to improve productivity while supporting healthier, more resilient workforces. Section 5. The role of workplace wellbeing standards. The modelling demonstrates that there is significant value in effective workplace health and wellbeing support. However, unlocking the confidence productivity premium requires more than encouraging employees to speak up. Confidence is built through consistent organisational practices that demonstrate support is available and can be accessed when needed. This is where workplace wellbeing standards, including those developed by ISO and BSI, can play an important role. These standards provide practical, flexible frameworks that help organisations embed consistent approaches to supporting employee health and well-being across different sectors and workplace environments. Although many organisations may already operate in line with such standards, they're not always visible to employees or explicitly communicated. The research found that awareness of workplace standards was generally low. However, once the concept was explained, employees recognised their value and believed they would increase confidence in raising health and well-being concerns. This suggests that the challenge is not only implementing good practice, but making it visible and understood. Rather than measuring awareness of specific standards, the study examined employees' lived experience of workplace support, including the availability of practical provisions and workplace adjustments. Across the UK, US and Germany, employees who reported that these supports were available consistently experienced lower levels of workplace absence than those who perceived little or no support. While the size of the effect varied by country and health challenge, the direction was consistent across all markets. The findings suggest that structured workplace provisions, underpinned by recognised standards, can strengthen employee confidence, improve access to support, and reduce productivity losses associated with health and wellbeing challenges. Conclusion and key insights. The research identifies a clear and consistent relationship between employee confidence, workplace support, and productivity. Health and wellbeing challenges are a normal part of working life, but the way employers respond can significantly influence whether employees recover quickly, experience prolonged absence, or leave work altogether. Across all three markets, lower confidence in approaching employers and lower expectations of receiving support were consistently associated with greater productivity losses through longer absences, higher levels of presenteeism, and an increased likelihood of extended leave or job separation. Build confidence that support is available. Confidence is not simply about encouraging employees to speak up. It is about creating workplaces where they genuinely believe they will be supported. Employees who lack confidence experience greater productivity losses and are more likely to leave employment when health and well-being challenges arise. Reducing stigma, improving communication, and ensuring support is both visible and accessible are therefore essential to improving workforce outcomes. Early intervention can translate into long-term gains. Employees who feel unable to raise concerns are more likely to experience prolonged absence or exit the workforce. This suggests that unresolved issues escalate over time, increasing costs for both employers and employees. While supporting health and well-being may appear to require additional investment, the evidence shows that early intervention delivers long-term returns through improved productivity, retention, and workforce resilience. Structured provision can move the dial. Although many employers are committed to supporting employee well-being, provision remains inconsistent, particularly for psychological health and well-being challenges. The research shows that employees working in organisations with clear workplace support and practical health and well-being provisions report lower levels of absence. Structured approaches, often underpinned by recognised workplace standards, help build confidence and strengthen organisational readiness to respond when challenges arise. Generating the confidence productivity premium. Employees generally want to perform well, and employers want to support them, but changing labour markets and competing organisational priorities can make delivering effective support challenging. The findings demonstrate that investing in workplace health and well-being is not only beneficial for employees, but also creates measurable value for organisations. Strengthening workplace provision through recognised health and well-being standards offers a practical way to build trust, increase employee confidence, and unlock the confidence productivity premium. Ultimately, creating a culture of trust is not simply an investment in employee well-being. It is an investment in organisational performance, workforce resilience, and long-term productivity. Now, to find out more about the themes and issues raised in this BSI report, or about how to get involved in standards, then check out the links in the show notes. And the show notes are also where you can find details of our socials and all the other ways to get in touch with us here on The Standard Show.
You have been listening to an episode of The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards.
You just heard a stripped media production.